Morning, everybody. Thought I'd come outside and enjoy the start of 2020 gardening.
Wait a minute, AZ. It's cold outside. It's December. This isn't spring. It's cold. There's no time for gardening.
Yes, Wade. Now, as they say, nobody plans to fail. They just fail to plan. And that's why you start next year's gardening now. This year's garden is all done. Everything should be put away for most people, shutting it down and all that. Now is the time to start planning for next year. There are many things to consider. If you grew a garden last year, do you know what went wrong? Is there things that you need to change? You need to look at what happened. One thing that I've learned is that everybody needs to get some kind of booklet, gardening planner, or digest, because as you garden each year, you need to make note of things that happened and what you did right, what you did wrong, what you want to change, what vegetables you grew too much of, too little of. But if you don't have all that marked down, like a lot of us, our memories are not all that great sometimes. But if you have a diary, you know what happened last year. Also, to start, for those starting, if you have one of these, this is the start of your garden right here. You make your plans. There's things to consider that you need to write down and get prepared and ready for next year. There are a lot of things to consider because I don't always remember them all. I wrote them down. Things to do for planting the garden. Number one, location. Is the sun. How's the sun compared to where your garden is? Is it going to get all-day sun? Is it going to get afternoon sun or morning sun? You need to consider that for what you're wanting to grow. Also, the size. Do you want a small garden? Do you want a large garden? So here's a question for you. What's a farm? What's a garden? I know farms have thousands of acres, but I also know that there are some that only have 2 acres. Gardening, I know gardening that a square foot garden, or I know a guy that's got an acre and he calls it gardening. Is that really gardening or is it farming? I don't know. You need to know what you want to do and what you want to tackle. If you're just starting out, you may not want to have a large garden. Make it small, an 4x8 garden. We'll get into that later too. Also, the type of gardening. Or are you going to do a ground garden, row garden? Or are you going to do tub gardening? Then there's stuff like straw, or straw bales. Interesting thing. I may try those this next year. Also, the even more diverse aquaponics or hydroponics. Are you wanting to do one of those? Well, you can't just start it. You got to plan for it. Also, the style. If it's on the ground, are you going to? There's several types: row gardening, square foot gardening, which is very interesting and things you may want to look into. There's also companion gardening, which is a little bit different than square gardening, but similar. There's also joint gardening, which is a combination of both those, but different. What are you going to grow? You need to know what you're going to grow, because are you going to need trellises, wire cages, and stuff like that. Now's the time to plant for that so you can get it all so you'll be ready for the gardening. Then there's watering. What type of watering are you going to do? Most people make it simplified. They just get the sprinkler from the garage and hook it up and use a hose and spray it. There's some pros and cons on those, and we'll get into that later some other time. There's also drip irrigation, which is very effective in many ways. There's also wicking, which goes to the like the tubs. You can do several different types in the tubs. One of them is wicking, which I'm going to try this next year. Then the soil. Does it need tilling? If it's brand new ground, should you heat kill it so that you kill the seeds into it? Topsoil, is the soil any good? Do you need to make amendments? You need to bring in topsoil. Mulch, are you going to be using mulch? Going to bring it in, make it yourself? Composting, are you going to have a composting pile? Which is very good, and I recommend for everybody to figure out where and what they want to do for composting, and just get started now. You can build it, and I mean, you won't get the benefits for a while, but if you start now, you'll have it when you need it. There's also straw. There's a lot of things you can do with straw in the soil, and for composting, for mulching. Are you going to use that? Then the biggest thing of all, plants, vegetables. What are you going to grow? Fruit trees? There's also other types of gardening. Are you going to have a flower garden? Nice to plant it now so that you can be ready. I mean, right, now's the time to plant bulbs to get them ready for the spring. You plant them now, so that you're actually starting your 2020 garden now if you're going to plant bulbs. Shrubs, are you going to need new shrubs? Where do you want them? How big? Kind? Trees? Do you need more shade trees? Do you need windbreaks like I do? Things like that. And then the last but not the least is, how are you going to get your plants? Are you going to grow them yourself? Are you going to start do a seed starter set? Or are you going to buy live plants and size and so forth? So there's a lot of planning involved in the beginning of gardening for 2020. And we were gardening ourselves, not this year so much because of the goats, but in the past, and I've watched a heck of a lot of videos and been gardening off and on for almost all my life. Started when I was a kid. I'm the one that grew our family garden in the backyard for stuff. So I've learned a lot of different things. I really like square foot gardening, but as the years passed on, the other things came into it and all that. And I'm going to try some different things. This year I'm going to do a wicking bucket gardening. I really like that. I'll show you how to set that up and all that, because you really need to start now, because you need to start gathering 1 gallon milk jugs, and so that's something you can't just go out and get. You need to collect them now. If you're drinking milk and all that, you just clean them out and you put them in storage for next year for use, and that's what I'm doing. You might want to ask family members to help you with that if that's something you're going to be considering, because you need to, that's what I'm trying to get out to you, is you need to start your planning now so that you can get whatever supplies or what you need for next year, so when it comes time to actually do the gardening, you're prepared, you're ready, you know what you're going to do, we're going to try, and take the first steps. Let's get it done. You all have a good day now.